Hi, I'm Dr. John Galaska. This is a short video, less than 15 minutes, about resonant breathing. It's a technique that I strongly recommend to help allay anxiety in the moment that it occurs. When you experience anxiety, there are certain changes in your body. Your sympathetic nervous system is aroused, and that changes dilation and constriction of your blood vessels, changes your electrodermal skin responses. It changes several things about your breathing as well. This technique can allay sympathetic nervous system arousal, in effect, trading anxiety for a state of calm. So I highly recommend this, and I'll talk a little bit more about the health benefits of this in a future video. This technique is based upon our body's natural responses. There are lots of different kinds of breathing, and many of them have a monastic tradition behind them. There's many, many ways to breathe. Now, there's nothing wrong with monastic tradition. And of all the kinds of ways that there are to breathe, and if you are familiar with pranayama breathing, you're probably familiar with lots of different techniques. They almost all universally produce a subjective calm. However, resonant breathing, which is based upon the physiology of our own body and how our body preserves homeostasis, has very unique effects. It's actually exploiting an organ in our body that's called the baroreceptor, which senses stress in stretch in our blood vessels. There are baroreceptors in our large vessels, our aorta, and large veins. When blood pressure increases, the baroreceptor senses stretch in the organ because you're pumping into a closed system. And when that happens, blood pressure is going to increase. At that point, the baroreceptor responds and sends a message to the sinoatrial node of the heart, as I'll explain in the next slide. The opposite happens when we exhale. Our heart goes a little bit slower, the interbeat interval gets longer, okay, versus the inhale where the interbeat interval gets shorter. And the opposite happens if you exhale, your blood pressure goes down, the sinoatrial node of the heart receives a message from the baroreceptor to go a little faster. So here's a diagram that shows the feedback loop. You see the baroreceptors located in the carotid artery and in the aortic arch above the heart. When blood pressure decreases, the baroreceptor sends a message to the sinoatrial node, hey, speed up. And when it increases, it sends a message to slow down. So it's a feedback loop. Now, here's the important thing. The baroreceptor doesn't respond instantaneously to the inhale or exhale. It takes about 5 seconds of continuous inhale or continuous exhale to get the baroreceptor to respond to the intentional change in blood pressure that we're trying to create. So the trick is to get the baroreceptor to fire off at the same time as you start your inhale and exhale. I'll talk about that a bit on the next slide. To capitalize on what the baroreceptor does to exploit it, lengthen your inhale to about 5 seconds and lengthen your exhale to about 5 seconds, even in, even out. When you begin your inhale and you're taking air in through your nose, do that to a count of about 5. It's good to have a pacer, and I'll suggest that in the next slide as well. It's difficult for people like myself. I am not a musician, so I'm not good at counting precisely 5 seconds. So a pacer is a really good idea. In doing this kind of breathing, allow your abdomen to protrude a little bit. Now that opens your diaphragm and allows a better exchange of gases between your lungs and the atmosphere. However, keep in mind that it is not the depth of the breathing that is important here. It's the timing of the breathing that is important. If you breathe too deeply, you might hyperventilate. And if you get dizzy, that's counterproductive. If you do get dizzy when doing this, just stop and breathe normally, okay? So, as I said, it's a good idea to have a pacer because it's very difficult, unless you're a well-trained musician, to keep an accurate count. It's good to get a pacer, and you can get them in the App Store for an iPhone or Android, to get a pacer that has an auditory cue. For instance, a sound that after 5 seconds goes bing to signal your exhale. And then at the end of the exhale, 5 seconds, ping, to signal the start of your inhale. Why is an auditory cue important? It's because now you can close your eyes. And in closing your eyes, you allow the alpha portion of your electroencephalographic pattern, the brain waves that are constantly going on inside your skull. Alpha goes up when you close your eyes automatically. Also, if you use a pacer, you could recline in an easy chair or on a bed. And when you recline, alpha and theta as well tend to increase. That's sort of in preparation for sleep. You may be familiar with theta. It's that point, right? It's a twilight state right between consciousness and sleep. And in this theta state, we can be very creative. We think in terms of flashes of ideas rather than in logic, if this, then that. So a pacer is a great idea. You can close your eyes. It will also allow you to recline, taking advantage of our brain's propensity to increase alpha when our eyes are closed and to increase alpha and theta when we recline. I like to put myself, lie myself down on the couch with a pillow under my head. I put the phone on my, over my diaphragm, just above my abdomen, and I can feel the phone rise and fall as I breathe in resonance, in sequence with the auditory cue that I get. Now, there is a website that you can go to if you want to try this before you get a pacer. It's a Brigham Young University website. I have no affiliation with them. Their website is very good. There's the URL for it. They have a section called Paced Breathing, and you can select a flute, a harp, or a bass pacer with increasing music for the inhale and decreasing music for the exhale. You might want to try it. They will ask you when you pick a pacer to select a breath rate, and I would suggest taking 5 breaths per minute. That's 6 seconds in or 6 seconds out if you're a little bit larger of a person, or selecting 6 breaths per minute, which is 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. 6 breaths per minute, 60 seconds in a minute, divided by 6, you got a 10-second breath. 10 seconds from the start of the inhale to the completion of the exhale, even 5 and 5, okay? Now, I suggest doing resonant breathing for 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes in the evening, or at any time when you feel you're becoming aroused. Sometimes 3 minutes will not be enough to allay that sympathetic arousal that is associated with anxiety. It's the physiological somatic part of our anxiety. If that's the case, if you still feel anxious after 3 minutes of resonant breathing, just repeat it. You may need to repeat it 3 times, 9 minutes, or even more to achieve um, an allaying of the sympathetic arousal that's concomitant with anxiety. Now, when you first try to do this, your mind wanders. It seems to happen almost universally. So you're listening to your pacer and you've got 2 or 3 breaths done, and then your mind takes off and goes somewhere else and you lose track of your breathing. Don't be hard on yourself. Thoughts come, thoughts go. Just allow yourself to gently come back to paying attention to the pacer and inhale for the count of 5 seconds. And then exhale for the count of 5 seconds according to the signal from your pacer. So don't be distressed if you do get distracted. It still works, even if you're distracted. If you breathe too deeply, you may hyperventilate, causing you to get dizzy. If you do become dizzy doing this, breathe normally. That dizziness is not a productive state, okay? So you might want to visit that BYU website before you get a pacer on your phone and give pace breathing a try. It's called resonant breathing as well. Now, I'll follow up with more videos about the health benefits of getting your heart resonant with your respiration in this manner. Basically, what happens is heart rate variability increases, which is prognostic of a good result if you are sick. And the opposite is true. If heart rate variability is low, it's prognostic of a slower recovery period. So increasing heart rate variability is prognostic of good recovery from athletic stress, from anxiety, from disease as well. Heart rate variability, when it's increased, increases vagal tone. And if you're into Stephen Porges at all, and I'll have a video about him later, you know that vagal tone is what is responsible for allaying affect. Good vagal tone, you have better ability to control your affect. And I'll explain why that's important in a future video. So give it a try. Go to that website and at Brigham Young University and give it a shot. Email me, let me know whether it works to calm you down or not. And remember, for most people, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out works. You don't have to program a hold in between. Okay, so you all take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.